Okay. Hi, everyone. Hope you
What's
enjoyed
up?
the NBA Finals. Um,
Yeah,
yep, I will have to eat dirt. Diego, not so much, but a great finals, I'd have to say.
yeah,
Congratulations to the Knicks, all the fans in New
yeah.
York, all the fans like everywhere, really. Um, I know one of my friends in Gurnee, about 20 minutes from me. I was watching Game Three with them. I think I had the story last week when I was just like in shock at the Wemby turnover and me yelling at the restaurant like, "What the heck is going on?" He was super happy, so I'm happy for him. Uh, Kind of a wild series. We'll get into it, um, but I honestly thought it could have gone 4-1 Spurs,
Yeah,
but there were key moments pretty much throughout the entire series, like a key theme that he kept seeing and why the New York Knicks won. Um, Before we go into it, Diego, how are you doing? Um, Hope you're doing well.
yeah, I'm doing good. Just yeah, happy I got on the Team of Destiny bandwagon at the right moment. Maybe even a bit late. It's just yeah, after that game one in the Eastern Conference Finals, like there's no way. How did they just do this? And then it just kept going, and just felt like it had to happen. And yeah, like you said, every single game, it felt like the Spurs punched the Knicks in the mouth, and then but the Knicks are still hanging around, and then the fourth quarter happens, and it's like, well, it's Knicks time. And even in Game 5, I was watching with my dad and my grandma back home, and I literally told my grandma she knows nothing about basketball. I'm like grandma, here in the fourth quarter is when it happens. Like it's going to happen. It's lead like they can still come back and win this. She's like, oh, okay, and then they won, and I was like, I feel like Nostradamus, but it was just very interesting how that kept happening, but it's just another showing of a young team. And like Tim Bontemp said it on the Hoop Collective, I mean, a young. That's why no young team has won it yet on the first try, and so many other thoughts and kind of stats I've seen on Twitter that I want to discuss. But that's kind of my first point. There is just I guess there's a reason why there's a barrier to entry on that first try.
I made the mistake of hopping on a call in the middle of Game Five. I was kind of watching it in the background, audio
Oh yeah,
muted, and the friends on that call were just like, "Bro, they're not coming back, bro. They're not coming back. This is Game Four, the
yeah,
greatest, the greatest game in NBA history." Is what people are talking about,
yeah,
and it was like 6 minutes ago, like 10 minutes. Like the Knicks had cut it by 20 at this point, and this guy was
yeah,
clearly was not watching the game. He was paying attention to the score, and it's like, okay, 10-point difference. They're not coming back. They're
yeah,
not coming back. There's no way. I'd be so mad if they did. And he kept spoiling it because he was like 10 seconds ahead of me. I dropped off the call with 2 minutes to
oh
go, and I
yeah,
watched the end of it, and I was still stunned. Like
yeah,
it was. You talked about the Cavs comeback. That was something, and then all the comebacks
hmm,
prior to that, and then the Anunoby tip. Like it's just
yeah,
part of me, like now that a couple days have passed, I'm still amazed at how the Knicks came back.
hmm,
But in the moment, and to some degree still, I was very mad watching the finals
yeah,
because as somebody who plays basketball a lot, like there's like unwritten rules and like how you want to conduct yourself on offense, like how you want to ingratiate yourself
yeah,
with the team, like how do you want to play off each other, how do you build a chemistry, like how do you play unselfishly. And I found myself looking at the Spurs and like seeing no difference between that and a high school pickup game where two people just want to shoot. It was the
yeah,
same exact problem that I saw with the Celtics when they went
hmm,
up against the Warriors and they lost that finals for their first time in the NBA finals with that group of people.
yeah,
And I found myself mad at the Spurs because they're like, you're like a spitting image of the. It was like watching a spitting image of the Celtics before they won the chip.
yeah,
Like it was just crazy to me. And it's like you have film of this, and they never really adjusted in the second half of following
hmm,
games.
yeah,
They kind of just seemed like they adjusted in the first half of each game and then just reverted to bad tendencies, bad decisions, stupid
hmm,
decisions, not being efficient with the ball, not having a plan. And I think the series just came down to like when the chips were down, when there were 4 minutes or less on the clock,
hmm,
more often than not, the Knicks had a plan.
Yeah.
Knicks would stagnate, and the Spurs did not. I don't
Hmm.
want to say the Spurs are lacking a closer because I think it's possible it's already on the roster.
Yeah.
They just haven't manifested it to the capability that would
Hmm.
help. But you could be talking about inexperience here. To me, it's just basketball habits,
Yeah.
and it was strange to me because they had it against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they suddenly didn't against the Knicks.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned at the very beginning, you have to give the Knicks credit for it because they've been experienced, they've been there, they've done it before, and they knew what to do in crunch time.
Hmm.
But the Spurs, I found myself very disappointed because I thought they overcame that hurdle when they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and
Yeah.
they clearly have not because they didn't win the finals. And they
Yep.
did learn the lessons. And I think more importantly than not winning the finals, they pushed it to 7 games and lost fine. Six, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But I think the way they lost and how they lost was very disappointing to me.
Yeah. I think I think it definitely goes to that point that you said of just the Knicks knew when it's nut crunching time and who knows what's gonna happen. It's like just give the ball to Jalen Brunson. That's the instant thought. And I mean the Thunder as well with Shea, but maybe their offense was more limited due to no Jalen Williams forward, Jalen Williams and a hampered AJ Mitchell. But the Spurs don't know that yet. Wemby, when he gets the ball, he's just kind of shooting. He's not getting the paint. Steph Castle, well, I mean, more De'Aaron Fox wasn't able to really shoot that well. He's hampered by an injury. So in that sense, you get to this point, it's like, well, what should we do? And maybe you, maybe you think, oh, not De'Aaron, Dylan Harper should get the ball more. And then going into Game 5, was Mitch Johnson says like, no, we're sticking with De'Aaron. He's our vet, like he knows what to do, and he's definitely older, but he's only had one more playoff series that went to 7 games and hasn't been to this level yet. So I think yeah, that could have changed things if they would have used Dylan Harper a bit more in what De'Aaron Fox was doing. Maybe I mean he was able to get to the paint whenever he wanted almost every time. So
Yeah.
kind of baffling there, not not making a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I have stats comparing the three. But just a quick
Yeah,
note on that was the big problem. Like
yeah,
they, the Knicks they weren't rolling out the red carpet for them to get into the paint. They were playing specifically for the outside. But once
yeah,
the Knicks saw that the Spurs weren't making it a point to get into the paint, and they could win that way by forcing the Spurs out of the paint, they won the battle because Castle wouldn't be aggressive enough. He only had one game where he was clearly
hmm,
attacking the paint, and that was game 3. And he had a big game.
yeah,
They ended up winning. And then for some reason he stopped. He never continued it.
yeah,
Wemby made a lot of decisions that didn't involve him going into the paint. And part of it was every time Wemby would go up for a lob, by mid-series you see the Knicks adjust and start shoving him.
yep,
And sometimes they would get away with it because it's off the catch versus like a clear shot, but everybody knew the lob was a shot,
hmm,
like by Wemby, right? And because of that, that kind of deterred Wemby from not like going into the paint. And I'll give Perkins credit for this. He called it all series like what the Knicks were capable of when they signed Brunson. But then
yeah,
more importantly, he called it out. Like Wemby needs a post move he can go to. Well, there's like
right,
a double dribble, sorry, two dribbles into the box, and then like a baseline fadeaway, sort of like what Kawhi does, or like a fake fadeaway, and then you shoot it like a second later or something like
hmm,
that, a hook or something. He needs to develop something in the half court when the game gets tight like this that the Spurs can rely on.
yeah,
In addition to that elbow jumper you can get whenever he wants. Because the problem with that elbow jumper is when you're settling for those, like in the middle of the game and it's not hitting, they add up. And on top of Brunson just warming up in the fourth quarter, it could feel like a double whammy.
hmm,
Um, but just guard to guard comparison, obviously game 5, Dylan Harper had his best game, leading scorer, despite coming off the bench, 31 minutes. Um,
crazy,
he had this is his field goal percentage by game, by the way. 60% game 1, 50% game 2. Had a bad night, 27.8 in game 3.
hmm,
Seemingly they lost that one. That's a weird outlier. then 67% game 4, 52% in game 5.
Yeah.
He had it going. He had what, like 23 rebounds across the first 3 games,
Jeez.
which
Nice.
was like for a guard that's extremely good. He's a very
Mhm.
physical player. I think people saw that right away.
Yep.
But
Very
compared to that,
strong.
like Stephon Castle, where have you been? Like
Yeah.
4 out of 5 games he's under 20 points. Um, this is his field goal percentage from like the first 3 games. 43.8, not bad.
Mhm.
35.7, 57.1, really good game from him. That's when he had the 23 in the win, attacking all over the place. But then game 4 and 5, 28.6, 10% in game 5. 10%
Jeez.
field goal range.
Right.
Just you can't have that.
Nah.
Coupled with a De'Aaron Fox having a really bad game himself. I don't even want to get into game 4. I already sent you on Insta like
Yeah.
all the ways De'Aaron Fox screwed up from like 4 minutes, third
To the end
quarter
of the
onward.
game.
It was bad. But game 5, 20%. Game 4, 35.5%. Yes, that includes the layup that he blocked that he should have held on to.
Yeah.
13 seconds left. 28.6 game 3. 23.1 game 1. The only game Fox did well was 66.7. And that was the one game he probably should have taken the last shot when he could turn around the corner.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Hmm.
Like when I see this guard play, it's San Antonio stuck with De'Aaron Fox. I'm not on the train that they should move him to somebody that can absorb that contract. I'm probably one of the few that think that way. I think he's a really good player. You traded him for a reason, but you have to figure out how to utilize him better. But I do think Dylan Harper should be starting. So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted because you can't. I don't know if you could start Castle, Harper, and De'Aaron Fox all at the same time. That will be I think it's one of those where you have to give Fox an ultimatum where it's like, we'll have to have you leading the bench. Like I don't see any way around this, dude, because Dylan Harper was the best guard, like point guard, shooting guard of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's putting 25 points in 32 minutes and clearly having the best impact off the bench, like you have to start him. Like you just have to. And it's one of those situations where like look at what happened with Cat once he had like somebody that made the most of his talents, like a Mike Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You need that guy for De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
You need some sort of veteran. You need some sort of like big man he could work with, where whether it's leading the second unit and being sixth man of the year, like that I think is a valuable role for him on his team. And I'm not saying this in full jest, saying just bench him. This is more of like Dylan Harper's clearly, despite him just finished his rookie year, he's clearly the point guard leader on this team. Like him and Castle, like I think Castle would be better. I think this is one of those where you'll learn from it. But I think for De'Aaron Fox, you had your chances. You've been in a spotlight. Didn't show up in the spotlight when needed. If you're coming off the bench, you could still have 30 minutes. Like Dylan Harper just showed that.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Spurs need a plan to best utilize De'Aaron Fox and figure out what to do when Wemby sits on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much as I like Luke Cornett and how clutch he was against the Thunder, it was just a bad matchup problem all series for him. Like, you pretty much saw the Knicks game planning for Luke Cornett to come into the game. And I want to see them target a guy like Andre Drummond or like some guy that's like a rim protector, physical guy, lob threat that can come off the bench and replace Wemby in a different way. And I actually think a pairing between him and Fox, Keldon Johnson, would be a better fit for them trying to make a finals run like this, considering how they want to structure their offense and defense. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy how, and we talked about it before, how different the Spurs are when Wemby's on the bench compared to when he's on the court. because it is completely different. And like you said, like anytime Cornette was on the court, it's just all the Knicks go straight to the basket. And yeah, maybe Drummond's too old, but some sort of actual rim protector would be
Like,
critical
the
to have.
archetype I've talked about, right?
Yeah,
Like, I I might have considered bringing Biyombo in, like,
yeah,
just giving him some minutes, like, and figure it out. Like, that's how Mike Brown figured out the Jose Alvarado, like, genius
yeah.
addition. Like,
Hmm.
if you're Mitch Johnson, you got to do the same thing. And obviously, first finals, well, was it first or second year as head coach of the team?
Yeah,
Like,
might have been first.
there's a lot of high expectations for a guy who's not
Yeah.
really been there. So
Hmm. Yeah, it's not easy. Um. So yeah, I guess there's more stuff to be said about the Spurs. I think, right? If you try to start Fox, Harper, Castle, then right, you obviously need to start Wemby. Then you have to choose between Devin Vassell and Julian Champagnie, and Devin Vassell
I think
gives you
you got to
time.
like you have to make a decision to get Harper in the starting line. You have to.
Yeah, yeah, but then right, I think Champagnie's up for a contract. Are you going to give him this money and then tell him to go on the bench when he's definitely going to get the same a starting role somewhere else? Vassell is probably your biggest guy, or at least he plays the biggest, and you really need him. So it's such a weird dynamic. And yeah, I've heard all that about trading Fox. I'm not like against it, but it also just feels like it feels really tough for Fox. He's in this situation. Like, who would have thought, right, when he got traded, that this could happen like that? To get
And he
like
was
such a
playing off an
generational
injury,
guard,
coming off an injury too.
that too. So probably the Spurs won't do anything. They'll figure it out. But yeah, everyone kind of wants to figure out some sort of magical trade to make everything better. So yeah, but they had a good season anyway. So it's a good run for them. Good learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, it just. But all that being said, I think credit to the Knicks, like Brunson, like
Hmm.
I think the last time I've seen a superstar ball out like that in like a game
Yeah.
with the kid was Giannis,
Yep.
and it it looked in a different way, but you could just tell that he was figuring it out game by game by game.
Yeah.
And then after that game 4 win, did you see this team like they're not shaken by anything that
Hmm.
happens on the court anymore? Um,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, literally all the starting five had their moments in different parts of this game. Like OG, obviously, game 4, Cat, first 2 games. Josh Hart was huge games 3 and
Hmm.
4,
Yeah.
um, except for the missed layup. That kind of sucked.
That
But
was
like
crazy.
Mikal Bridges, like came up huge at different parts of the game as well. And I think more than anything, it's just shown like how they would play as a team, make adjustments. Like you
Mhm.
didn't see this from Tibbs coming last year, and Tibbs is a great
Yeah.
coach. She's getting a lot of heat, especially with the Dolan like species of team being leaked and stuff like that. But like
Yeah.
that's like Jose Alvarado, Mitch Robinson, end of the
Yeah.
game 5. That rebound was probably the biggest play of the game. Like just
Yeah.
shoving Wemby aside and like getting that. Like that's just grown man best, and he's got a lot of heat as well.
For
Jordan
his finger.
Clarkson being a spark plug off the bench. Like I can go down the line, but
He's
like
yeah.
the Knicks showed like they had the depth that OKC and the Pacers had last year, and it was
Mhm.
on full display. And they were not afraid of Wemby in the way they attacked. They wouldn't attack him directly, like as if he's a guard, like obviously, but like OG had like 3 or 4 dunks from like the same spot, same sort of drive
Mhm.
action.
Yeah.
Brunson, like stop and go, was really efficient. Like
Yeah.
they might have helped out the league and like trying to figure out how to deal with Wemby rather than being like, okay, this alien can do everything.
Yeah.
We're screwed. And like not a lot of teams did that. Not a lot of teams like really game plan for Wemby in the way that the Knicks did.
Mhm.
And just full credit to them. Like they ran Wemby out of the gym. They played the long game. Like
Yep.
sure, Wemby had a like crazy amount of blocks and he still put up numbers. He's a great player and he's going to be an all time great. But
Mhm.
I think the way the Knicks that game plan about it was just beautiful, spectacular.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it goes to the point, right? The playoffs are different from the regular season. In the regular season, it's a lot easier to dang you lose the game, one beat cooks, and it's just like, well, on the next game in 2 days. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Like you're hoping not to play him in the regular season. That's where your mind's at.
Yeah, yeah, and then in the playoffs, you're like, well, we have to play him. We got to focus in and do something about it. And the Knicks were able to do that. So, yeah, I love one thing I loved is just the fact that he's the unanimous defensive player of the year, but the strategy to beat him was to put him in actions, was to get him involved. And I thought that was very interesting because that's what you would say about maybe like Nikola Vucevic or some other big that can move and play defense. So I think that was very interesting. But yeah, I feel like part of it as well is like maybe that game one of the conference finals, playing so many minutes that might have just gassed him too much, like took out too much energy to where after that point he's just kind of he's playing, but he's not at the peak of what he'd like to be. So who knows, right? I think he's gonna obviously work on that and other things. So we'll see what we get next year with them, even just off development. Who knows what moves they might make or not make? But
Well,
yeah.
I think the biggest thing was like you have to think about how many games they played on top of
Hmm.
the regular season, right? They pretty much played like 1/4 of the regular season games they did. Like how many
Yeah,
they played at
played
least 20 games in the playoffs, right? Between the 7 game series,
22
5 game series is
games.
12. Um, they took the
Plus,
Blazers to 5, right? So that's
yeah,
17 and like
five
uh
more for the finals.
yeah, I think the Timberwolves series went what, 5 or 6?
Yeah, it was five, I thought.
Yeah, so that puts you at like 22.
Was it
So
six? Yeah.
yeah, 22.
Yeah, so
But yeah, I
that's
mean,
yeah.
you played 1/4 of your games pretty much of the regular season on top of the regular season. Played
Hmm.
100 games. Um,
It's a lot.
you could. I'm not trying to make excuses because the Knicks certainly played a ton too.
Yep.
Definitely not
Well,
to the extent that the Spurs did, if we're
yeah.
just comparing apples to apples. But at the same breath, when you're playing that many games, like you got to be conditioned enough to play it, especially the
Hmm.
minutes that you are. And I feel like Wemby would be dominant in the first half and like just go all out, but then he wouldn't pace himself
Yeah.
the entire game. So by the time it gets to third or fourth quarter, on top of the Knicks, like doing all these actions to get him moving and involved and out of the paint and um, get him to taking stagnant shots, like he just slowly lost energy as the game progressed, and you could see the Knicks like find advantages in different spots.
Hmm.
And he's gonna have to work on his conditioning as with the rest of the team.
Yep.
Um, they're gonna have to work on their conditioning for the finals, get stronger. When I'm looking at like Wemby's career arc so far, it mirrors a lot of like Giannis. I
Yeah.
keep thinking I'm watching Giannis, except he has a better jumper coming out
Much better.
and
Yeah.
better wing protecting capacity. Whereas like Giannis is better chase down block artist. Whereas like
Yeah.
Wemby is just like he can block you facing up and like just reaching on shot balls better than a lot of people can. Um, but like his build is very like how Giannis was when he first came out. And it
Yeah.
over time it took him to build that. And I think Wemby needs to do that in the offseason
Hmm.
while being able to like hold on his fundamentals and his technique.
Yeah.
And I think that will help him, especially when you got Cat and Mitch Robinson being physical, Josh Hart being physical, Oshie being
Hmm.
physical. It all wears on him. And you could see that combined with how many actions he was involved in take a toll on his body in this particular series. Again, not
Yeah.
many excuses. Like, quite frankly, they should have been expecting that given the personnel on the roster versus the Knicks.
Yeah.
But that's something he's going to need to work on if they want to win the chip.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's only his third year, so he only can go up from here, hopefully. So I'm not too worried about them losing here. It's kind of refreshing to get another different champion. Um, and I think one thing I wanted to say is just how a few trends from the last few champions, right? Big one is that every defending champion doesn't make it back to the finals, even going back to yeah, no. So
Yeah, because OKC hasn't. right?
OKC didn't. The Celtics, the
Celtics didn't.
Nuggets, the almost no one going back to the Raptors even doesn't make it. Even they barely make it to the conference finals, and always whoever beats them, they don't win it either. Last year, this year with the Spurs, last year with the Knicks, then the Mavs and or no, who is the defending champion? The Timberwolves. They don't beat the Mavs. So not only if you win a championship, the next year you're probably not going to win. But if you do beat a defending champion in the playoffs in a tough series, you're probably also not going to win either. And
Hmm.
so it's just an interesting showing of the parity, right? That that you really have to take advantage of your opportunity when it comes. And that's why, especially for the Knicks, I was like, if you make it here and then you can't make it back, you have to covet that opportunity. And I thought that was very interesting. And another point was, I think in the last 4 years, the Heat in 23, the Mavs in 24, last year with the Pacers, and this year with the Knicks, there's been one team that makes a glorious run of just, man, how did this happen? You can even say the Warriors in 22, where I don't think anyone was really expecting them to win. So that's another interesting point of um, some teams just get into gear at the right time or maybe get someone back. And I thought that was very interesting. Those are two thoughts I've had in the past few days since the finals ended. So yeah, very
Where does
very
this
cool
Knicks
stuff.
team stand of all the champions of all time?
Of all the champions of all time, I mean, I was just listening on the Zach Lowe show where he's like, this team definitely isn't like a greatest team of all time. 96 Bulls, late 2010s Warriors, 80s Lakers, Celtics, but playoff team. I mean, it's definitely in a sense comparable to those 11 Mavs, to those. I mean, maybe the '06 Heat. I don't really want to give them credit, but mm, maybe even no, the Cavs are a bit better.
They had the
But
best point differential in playoff history.
yeah,
Going
that's
16
true.
and 3. I think they had what 13 consecutive wins. That's
Yep,
only
they
second
did.
to the Warriors, who had 15 consecutive wins.
Jeez, but that's the thing, right? Is I'm not saying this Knicks team is so much worse than that 17 Warriors team, but the 17 Warriors were just good on paper and they played well enough in the regular season. Th- that Warriors team didn't have a 9-game losing streak with that like peaking at the Dallas Mavericks beating them in MSG. Like that is it's kind of crazy, right? I don't they're definitely a great team that differential is definitely going to be talked about for a long time, but I don't think they're like at the upper middle class of these types of teams, of these championship winning teams because of what they've done in the playoffs. Um but it also comes to say, right, when you start comparing that this East, this East was not the strongest of what we've seen before. And I mean, when the Celtics won 24, the same argument came up. Even when the Nuggets won in 23, the same sort of argument was said as well. So it's uh it's hard to say exactly where they are, but I definitely think they're on the upper half of championship
Well, the
teams.
thing is, they didn't have to face the Boston Celtics because they lost to the Sixers, right? And the Boston Celtics is
Yeah.
like top five in both like 3-point shot and 3-pointers allowed, right? Or the Detroit Pistons, who
Yeah.
outscored them by 28 points per game. Their defense over
Hmm.
3 regular season meetings. Now, granted, this New York team is completely different. Like from February
Yeah.
onward, I think they went like 23 and 11 in their games.
Yeah.
But their opponents shot 4 of 19 and clutch 3-pointers
Jeez.
and 10 for 21 on clutch free throws.
That's
And they
insane.
were 6 and 2 in the comeback games. And you have
Hmm.
to think about the bad turnover where Wemby hits Castle in the back,
Yep.
and then De'Aaron Fox's brutal decisions, like
Right.
third quarter onward. So obviously, there's a little bit of luck involved. But when you're talking about a team that's scoring 345 points in the last 6 seconds of the shot clock,
That's insane.
this is over the playoffs. They scored
Yep.
345 points on the last 6 seconds of the shot clock.
Hmm.
Guess how much their opponents scored in that same situation?
175.
Oh my! Dude, you're close.
Yeah.
166. More than double. More than
Yeah.
double, man. It drew 17 more fouls. I'm just throwing all these stats at you because
Mhm.
it seems emblematic of like when was sort of what Brunson said when the chips are down
Mhm.
and they're trying to figure something out, they will always find a way.
Yep.
That's what these stats indicate. They will always find a way, and there's a little bit of luck involved into the stats that I've just stated,
Mhm.
but Mitchell Robinson shoving people out of play, like Anunoby
Yep.
having the tip in, Hart like just taking a steal and take it down the other side of the court. Brunson finding his matchups and figuring out ways to get around the size and
Mhm.
defensive hounding over the first couple games. That shows growth
Yeah.
and doing the little details. Like sometimes, like what Coach Mike Brown said, is you have to create your own luck, and the Knicks truly resemble that.
Yep.
So I don't want to take away from my complaints about the Spurs about like how impressive this Knicks run truly was. I do
Yeah.
think it was one of the best runs by a team. I think what kind of
Yeah.
softens it for me is just how bad the opponents played them.
Yeah.
Not like how bad the teams were, but like I'm talking about the Cavs and then the Sixers and then the
Right.
Spurs who just like struggled to defend these Knicks.
Mhm.
And then they would make their own mistakes. They're all different mistakes, but they would make egregious mistakes that you do not typically see of a playoff team.
Yeah.
But the Knicks had to go win those games, and often when they were down by a lot, and they went ahead and did that. And you have to give them credit for how they achieved that.
Yeah. Just a great another team of destiny. I guess I've started saying team of destiny. I will now coin that term for whenever I reserve the right. But like I'm telling you, the Mavs in 04 and 24, that was a team of destiny. It just didn't make sense, but it happened and it was amazing. So yeah, good
If only he
playoff
was in
run.
Dallas, man.
If only
They could have kept him.
they could have, but they didn't even offer him the contract. Like
I thought they gave him. Didn't they give him 4 for 110? Is that their offer?
that was, I think that was their offer, which was no, that's what the Knicks gave Brunson, and the Mavs I don't think wanted to do that. But I will say in the moment I was fine with that because I was just like, it's like this Brunson guy, like he's great. He scored a bunch of points in that game against the Jazz, but I was like, I don't know if we need more of him. But seeing how well Kyrie worked with Luca, who knows? But that was also other things: PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. So yeah,
Could have had a ship, man. Brunson and Doncic. So
at least one of them got it, I guess.
yeah. All right. Um, that wraps it up for us. That
Yeah.
is that was crazy finals. We hope you enjoyed the NBA season.
Yep.
Um, great finals run, great games. It is with sad news, but also with gratitude. I have to say that this is actually the last episode of our podcast, and I don't know if you had a speech plan, Diego. I didn't. I was kind of just going off the rip here,
Yeah.
but I think the huge thing I just want to say is just a huge thank you to those who stuck around, those who watched, those
Yeah.
who commented. I know a lot of people that I talked to and said, I have a sports podcast. We're always curious about like what the sports podcast was and like wanted to check it
Hmm.
out and wanted to subscribe. So it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed it. We've went anywhere where we were talking about like all different types of sports, like hockey, even narrowing it down to football and basketball, and
Hmm.
um, just a blessing to be able to talk about it every day with friends, my homies, and just talk shop. Not really having expectations, and um, yeah, I just thought it was time that we should move forward. But I think it was a great run, and um, yeah, appreciative of all of you and the feedback and just being excited about what's going on here. So
Yeah. Yeah. I guess thanks to you, Josh, because I wasn't ever expecting to do this. And I think it was for the 23 finals. You asked me to talk about that Heat Nuggets, and then it just went on to the next season. So that was awesome. I appreciate the opportunity. It's just good to have some more interest in it. So definitely gonna keep watching but it's been a good ride. So thank you.
Yeah. I it was like it's kind of one of those things where you jump in a podcast and don't really know what you're doing, and it's just like you listen to other ones and you're like, oh, we
Do
could
the
do
same
that.
thing.
We could just talk
Yeah.
with friends and like it's when I first started this, I was like, this is a great way to just keep in touch with people from like high school,
Hmm.
college even, and just like talk about stuff we enjoyed, like talking about growing up.
Yeah.
And I would always remember just having discussions with you and like Corstian about football, and like we can
Hmm.
go on for hours talking about that. And I was like, why not put that in podcast form? And I felt like I've learned
Yeah.
and grown in ways like outside of the podcast that's really helped me out. I think um, as far as like the direction, it's kind of one of those things where you podcast for a little bit, and then now it's just like you have other priorities that come up with like life and things that come
Yeah.
up, and um, unfortunately, you got to make certain decisions. But I don't regret anything at all. So
Yeah.
it's been a fun ride. But I don't know if there's anything you took away. I'm glad you enjoyed it and stuck around for as long as you did, just
Yeah.
talking shop. I could tell by all the jerseys and all the Mavs investment that you're not going
Yeah.
to stop watching.
No.
You're going to pay attention to Hoop Collective, NBA, FIBA, Olympics, like
True.
and but if you just wanted to share a couple things you learned or um, just want to sob, feel free. But just thank you, Diego, for all your partnership. Just continuing to be there week after week and sharing your thoughts and insights. I felt like between the two of us, we were able to provide a different perspective.
Yeah. No, I definitely learned. I feel the biggest thing I learned is just to not only how useful like reading news articles about the NBA and stuff, but how much I've just would like latently learn off Twitter, where I'll just see a stat and be like, oh, that was interesting, and then I'll remember it as we're talking. I was like, right, that was something I read, and the stats or like what I just talked about with the champions and how no champion makes it back to the finals, but also no one that beats them gets that far, gets that much farther either. So, it's just interesting how like right for us, basketball's our third space talking about that. So it's we definitely won't leave it, but we're leaving the podcast for now, but we'll still be in touch. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, I think we'll continue bothering each other on text on like what annoyed us about De'Aaron Fox turning the ball over.
yeah,
Absolutely. But I think one more thought is just I think the film study starting to implement in
hmm,
both football and basketball. I think
yeah,
just having that like and now watching just games without like expecting to clip
yeah,
films. Like we could have done that during the finals, but it just gives you a different perspective, like that the stats can't and like trying to communicate that on a podcast versus like how the stats were formed, I think was the biggest thing that I appreciate because a lot of people like OG shooting like 67% from
yeah,
corner three is like absurd and obviously a thing you can quantify and be like, okay, nobody should be able to do that based on like normal 3 point shooting rate. But like thinking about like how does De'Aaron Fox and like Stephon Castle struggle? Like how
hmm,
did Wemby and the Spurs manage to lose all these games in crunch time?
yeah,
Being able to see with your eyeballs, like they're not organized. They're where they're taking their shots and like seeing how they function as an offense. Like those kind of things across like any team, not just what happened in the finals recently. I think it's given me a better appreciation for like watching the game as somebody who's like addicted to it, like
yeah,
having fantasy teams, like dynasty teams, and sports betting on it for a while. Not doing it anymore, but I think I've grown to appreciate the games more as like a couch potato watching it
yeah,
than I have like playing it growing up. So,
yeah. That's awesome.
alrighty, I won't ramble anymore. We appreciate you guys for all the time and energy you spent like watching the podcast, engaging with the podcast. Um, we wish you the best of luck, and if there's anything you ever need from us, you can contact us on the channel. Love to hear your insights, love to hear your questions. But for now, we'll say farewell, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your summer.
Yep,
Enjoy the rest of the journey. Until then, peace out.
yep. Peace.